Welcome. This is Understanding Holiness with Bill and Diane Ury.
As God, Jesus is the creator. As human, Jesus is the recreator. Since the fall of Adam and Eve in Genesis 3, from the moment of our conception, every human is imprisoned in sinful nature. There's nothing we can do for ourselves to become free of sin or to be healed of this corruption of our beings. Therefore, because God is compassionate love, He personally came to deliver us. From the moment of Jesus' conception, our rescue and our salvation began. Within Mary, God's Spirit is united to human nature once again. Jesus, the Creator, begins to recreate the hopeless dilemma of human existence by reliving the human race the way He intended it from creation. And that is why Paul calls Jesus the second Adam in 1 Corinthians 15 and in Romans 5. The incarnate Creator endured every implication and every temptation of human life. I'm going to read to you from Hebrews chapter 2, starting in verse 14. Because God's children are human, made of flesh and blood, the Son also became flesh and blood. For only as a human being could He die, and only by dying could He break the power of the devil, who had the power of death. Only in this way could He set free all who have lived their lives as slaves to the fear of dying. We also know that the Son did not come to help angels. He came to help the descendants of Abraham. Therefore, it was necessary for Him to be made in every respect like us, His brothers and sisters, so that He could be our merciful and faithful high priest before God. Now jumping over to chapter 4, verse 15. This high priest of ours understands our weaknesses, for He faced all of the same testings we do, yet He did not sin. Jesus, because He is God, lived every moment of human being in the perfect union and intimacy with the Father, as we were intended to do when creation began. Jesus lived a completely human life without sin. He could have sinned. He chose not to. Every hour of Jesus' earthly life, with purpose and intention, Jesus was undoing the curse of the fall. The incarnation did not begin in Bethlehem. It began in a womb. He was a zygote, an embryo, a fetus, enduring His mother's stress in utero because He was a surprise pregnancy. God was a helpless newborn. He lived through childhood, being a political refugee, and was an adolescent in a pornographic and corrupt culture. Jesus went through adulthood with every level of personal challenge, stress, disappointment, including betrayal by trusted friends. He experientially knows suffering, slander, injustice, abuse, torture, abandonment, and death. In Scripture, it's critical that we recognize fully who Jesus is in these Gospels when He's encountering people. He is God who has once again come to walk in our midst. And because Christ is human and divine, He is the healing of our alienation from God. Jesus is our peace. Ephesians 2 tells us He formed humans with his hands and breathed life into dust. He still does. That's why he performed so many miracles of healing. He forgives sin. He is God who has taken our human predicament into himself, and he rules over all of it.
Take a moment to reflect on the following. Thank you for joining us as we seek to better understand biblical holiness.